ewo maim emu
ensembi sei ene afofro ene adebedom mo se enwumre no nsia kasebo ene ayede bramo eye berima ba nana yawo yebo Argentina miniminwa
amma sewa ampa
afi yenyina trakwa ne so na jebre ne mfa kasebo ne mu nchiremu emremu
Sikka FM track 1 yen ye kroro 89.5 Sikka FM.
Yes, share dia na yes share ede free Ghana by asia na panyipa ono no otonkra ede ma Ghana by onmonyamfo Felix fosu okachio ene dia betu dwase emre omobonto akọ Ghana etifi anafo apuye ene atoye no omo ehye Ghana fo bo se taxi odi echi kasem ye frene to no omo beyi bebre ede afiri one no ena omunya akonya no ebedi Ghana akonya no eso no ohun se sesei de ye kania preso dum so we na dumo oye na so ntide no betimi aye afa no ena Ghana ban ene mpanyimfo ekwa adwonto ato akire mu a omumfa ade aye frɛ no levi emfa emro ene levi o se levi o ni nyina omode ba ba kire mu se levi ena omoye free wona say energy sector levy omode aba ne kire se otofa nwa akoto aba akubia no na ya de 1 Ghana CD ede atoso eno ene eto a omode ba na se ato ne ba no abeboa papa ama Ghana yenyina mo de nsem no adinkunim chese dumso bia ni wo kafrika cho bia ni ho enti 1 CD a ye de to ye nkania ye petro ni diesel bo a ye de tua eka eda energy sector honum no aboa papa ama Ghana se ye nkania no enum mpo ena so nti ya wo ba bi na se kania ni dunduma na nya no e bia na ye fault bi ne fi se Ghana fo ehya ase etua sa levi no de enya de a enkania no edundum kra dani dan nyina sakania no ejina so na Ghana fo edi omujuma ne sa yanko ne enkoti onumnyamfo Felix kwachi ofusu.
The bit about the 1 CD levy, I think that the 1 CD levy and its relics and importance was thoroughly explained by the Minister for Finance and Minister for Energy when the bill to have it passed was introduced in Parliament. The whole idea was to ensure that expensive liquid fuels purchased for the purposes of firing thermal plants, but whose cost had not been factored into the tariff build-up, was addressed because it was becoming a bit of a problem. The estimates show that on a yearly basis about $1.2 billion or so is required for purposes of importing liquid fuels to fire thermal plants. Now, if some effort was not made to bridge this gap, it was going to pose a challenge, even as efforts were made to address the many problems that plagued the sector which we inherited. In terms of the exact amount of money that has been collected, I'm not able to provide the figures now, but I don't think that is anything that we cannot get in short order. So I'm sure that in the coming days that should be. I suspect that even the Finance Ministry in its yearly report to Parliament, petroleum revenue receipts, and the general accounting that is done for the budget for each year will shed light on how much has been collected. But what is clear is that it certainly has been put to good use and has contributed significantly to achieving stability in the power sector. When we took over power, there were challenges with electricity stability, and I think all of us can attest now that for several months now, electricity supply has been stable, and we've not experienced the outages that many had feared will be the case. In terms of the clearance of the energy sector debt, I think on Monday, the Finance Ministry issued a statement to inform Ghanaians that up to about $1.4 billion of debt owed in the energy sector had been cleared. I don't think that the statement suggested by any stretch of the imagination that $1.4 billion was all the debt that had been cleared. It is and other stakeholders. There's a table that indicates how much has gone to who. So any thorough reading of the statement will make it clear that the Minister for Finance or government was not saying that all of the debt had been cleared, but a significant chunk of the debt had been cleared within a matter of a year, and this has brought significant relief to the players in the sector. What had happened was that there was some lack of discipline in terms of adherence to the cash waterfall mechanism, which was designed to ensure that all players in the sector get some form of liquidity to finance their operation.
Onmonyamfo Felix Ofosu Kwache ena echirechire nsemu ebra okopiem ewojumede atunidi Government Accountability Series no chiremu se eye di levia omo ede aba no chese abeboa papa ama Ghana sese die yatuo ye die yo kane adunduadundu ni nyina etu atwa wamana nso ho a ena wosa kansem bi fa sese nsentrofo achese amanfo etu omani asi omo so achese yesi ba mo omo ani se yesi ba mo omo odi bi etu so yanko ni enkotie so afo no.
Regarding the assault of the journalists, interdiction is an important activity. What it shows is immediate commitment by the relevant authorities to address the problem of indiscriminate assault on journalists. Let me stress that, as President Mama himself has been at pains to point out, government does not endorse in any way, shape or form any form of assault or heckling or harassment of any journalist or any other category of professionals for that matter. The President has also indicated government desire to partner various stakeholders to reorient personnel of the security agencies on how they should relate to journalists. I think that the general attitude of some elements in the security services is that journalists are a bit of a nuisance, especially when you try to poke and find out what is happening, which is your job. There are many, or there are some of them who are unable to tolerate or countenance that, and therefore vent their spleen on journalists in ways that are unlawful and seek to harm journalists. Government condemns this sort of posturing. In the coming weeks, we will be engaging the heads of the various security agencies to organize a series of activities to draw the attention of all members of Ghana security agencies that journalists are partners and that you have a right to nose around and fish out for information to keep the public informed. Indeed, all manner of people who work within the public space are subject to scrutiny and accountability, and therefore the work you do goes a long way to enhance that. Under no circumstance should you come under attack or any form of harassment because you are doing that. Even when you are deemed to have violated some protocol or some arrangement, the response to that should not be assault. Like all of us, you are also subject to the laws of Ghana. So even if you have trespassed or gone into areas where unauthorized personnel are not allowed, the sanction for that or the response to that cannot be assault. So it has to be taken through due process. But I think that more needs to be done to drum home this point. Those who engage in this sort of assault too are not going to walk unscathed. The interdiction is only a first. It only shows the revulsion of the powers that be at that activity, and is the first line of punishment. Of course, as worry as the phenomenon of assault and harassment of journalists is, people accused of that also have to go through due process. You cannot apply extrajudicial measures to them because they have assaulted or harassed journalists. So they too have to go through due process as everybody else is entitled to in our land. Sometimes it takes a bit of time, and we know how the judicial system operates. It is well intentioned to ensure that people who have not committed offenses are not unfairly punished.
Ghana by enso so nsentrofo achese dani danyina posifo ne firefo ene Ghana timemufo no motu agu omuso achese sibama na musibama enche kura aban no edin hihye yebeba ma foforo hu se ensentrofo yeso yeka amamuo no ho yeboa ena amani tumpon Felix Ofosu Kwache onmunyamfo eni eti
ya to kase bono eso wojumedie kro na ase oswafo no empanifuo bisa no kosan bi emane yi ano wo bisa ne se ede ben na won aye anase de ben na woguso a wo ya ema omampani John Dramani Mahama ne maye toso mieni yente katase hye ene proye bia awo mfie baako a wadi e wakonyan so na no na wo kire mu se ebra na wo kontoa no na wo hye Ghana fo bo no wo magana fo hu se so to aba no ma no betina abanwa no so a katase hye proye kankan de wo so soso e wo won aban ni mu enti hye ye pa o mampani edigu akwan mu no eno na aboa ama afe baako ne no yente katase hye proye ne kankan bia emfa asoye bia ene dwumadi dwumakuo bia ho anase opani bia ye de no ato dwumakuo bi ano yentie ne nsem no a wo kan ye no ebi
no scandal or corruption. The point is that the corruption don't happen in and of themselves. Often it is a lack of controls that lead to corruption and abuse of office for personal gain. So if you have a system where no proper systems are put in place to check this, human nature is such that the tendency will be for people to be tempted to engage in that kind of activity. So President Ama has been aware of this from day one. That's why he launched the Code of Conduct for Public Officials who work under him. That's why he insisted by a certain date, everybody should file their asset declaration forms with the Auditor General. And then he has introduced what we call commitment authorization. In other words, you agree that most corruption scandals stem out of procurement. The desire for people, public officials to engage in procurement. That's where the bulk of corruption occurs. So So there must be a system that checks this, and the president has established the commitment authorization through the finance minister. So every procurement within a certain threshold that needs to be done must obtain commitment authorization. If you don't get it, the finance minister is simply not going to pay. That is what it means. Through that process, you are then able to scrutinize the request for procurement, the processes, and flag any unlawful acts or any acts that have the likelihood to lead to corruption. So we can stem the activity even before it occurs. But that happens if you have strict oversight, and that is currently what is happening. That is why you don't find corruption happening, because you are not at liberty to do as you please. You must go through a system that is robust to check any excesses. You will recall that the minister also announced the setting up of the Value for Money Office, which will be a body set up to look into the value of all government procurement, so that when you say that this pen costs 100 cedis, it is examined to ascertain whether or not it is true that the true value of this pen is 100 cedis. That office will also provide an additional layer of scrutiny and checks and balances on public procurement. So corruption is fought through a systems approach. It is not ad hoc. It is not by bold and lofty declarations.
Wasi obi adwemu fine a odi di dwuma no eno na aboa ama Kase3 6Pm ye ne kankan no afi de entimi ankoso no owie na osan edit udwabiem ese Commander Sugar Factory no aban no ade enchecha yepa agu akwan mu a ebetimi aya adwuma efri sabre ekoye no so yenko ne yenkotie.
The Commander Sugar Factory is still being worked on. It is important to carry out an assessment of the state of the factory. The intent was for sugar to be produced there, so that we cut down on the large volumes of sugar imports as a way of even addressing the problems with the exchange, because you need foreign currency to be able to do this importation if it is coming from outside the country. So the Commander Sugar Factory was set up to bridge that gap. Unfortunately, we finished setting it up just before we left office in 2016. What was left was for the cultivation of a plantation and then a system to offtake from outgrowers to feed the factory. The MPP failed to do that and left the factory in a state of disrepair. Once we took over, it was necessary to assess the situation and look for the best approach to get the factory to become operational. I'm confident that the trade minister, when she takes a turn at this program next week, will shed light on the status of the Commander Sugar Factory and indicate clearly what government is doing to bring it back to fruition.
I say Commander Sugar Factory no say ya na afe ebema esichire ebeye esichire wa yama emu se na ebeya yankra esichire bebre emfiri amanfoforo so emfa emma ene ekwati ye eye opani a ono no hwe nkitahudie so onimonyamfo Felix Kwachi ofosu
na chese enche kra ebeye Commander Sugar Factory no beye esichire ni bi ewo esichire ni wa ni edi esichire yankra dodo na emfiri amanfoforo so emma so ebeya sika no dala no ebeka ye memu yeti minya bidia ye yemma eno so ye in the pipeline okay resetting agenda okay I'm resetting my name.
Wasugusu autie enyumre no nsia kasebo ewo Sikka 89.5 FM kasa fidie so yeto kasebo ne so dia ne de ani kiremu ewo sofo panyina oda ansore ayefra no Open Arms Ministry a omo kira kwan ewo Kumase Asante Mantemga ya ebono menane se Sensak ni dia kasa Apostle Kofi Enkansa sa kodia in the miss. Sofwo ena echiremu se ebra Ghana ban ebontoa akọ pese Ghana fo beto abayi no ohye ebo ahodo bebre na ebo ba ko a okan ya akire se eto Ghana fo asumpa ne se wono de waba na wa kontia babie obabie mu dia ene na odenhihye papa eba beguna kwam se ne ebe ya ade a friend corruption ni din de wobrofo ma so de betwa ya ketasehye proye kankan ani dwirimu die ne de omo ms so kra omo be de ombetimi aye bia na omo etusa ade ya se Africa na memu eno na sofopanyin se Ghana mampanyin eja John Dramani Mahama ababi owura fidi a woka no ensem a woka ye titiriu pa de Ghana fo gina so edeto abama no katasije proye kankan ni jurumdi a cheso mampanyin hye bo se obetu ase ani nti mampanyin nyame na dom na se waba akonya no so ewom se odijumadi bia ba ye friend operation recover all loot nemmom eno nko ade enso nyame ani katantinga ya enka Ghana mampanyin enkeka na wona kire se ade a ye friend corruption no ontu ase akura onfa ne mapangu na kwam na ne oya se kwabrane atabiri sika chese emprempre akopiemu akwasi broni krom se wosa ne ho yade no corruption cases no ya do so ti Ghana mampanyin enye ne obetimi aye bia na ontu katasehye proye kankan ani dwirimudie ase emfamfiri oman mukra yanko ne yanko tie sofopanyin St. Sak Sofopanyin St. Sak ena excellence Musa Ghana mampanyin enhwe na ontu katasehye proye kankan eni dwirimude sanse Ghana fo nya ni mu arehemu enti na oto abama no amana nso ha owie no osa kire mu se omanyi mu nso ade ba ko chese edi Ghana fo nya pa eye ade aye friend galamse o illegal mining no nso koso na ekoso chese ensei Ghana fo nsuo papa ne nsuo ni bi obewuram kra no na adane atachenti Ghana mampanyin so oma na ni so enhwe ho na eni esese wo ya chese obetimi atu galamse ase ana wate so kra no waye na aboa ama oman no afa ne ntuma pa efra galamse na bia kwaso ense gu oman kan ebiwa de as gu oman ni mo se pa television lese wo sha galamse se yeah, then what you know, say, I say, I will be at all. That is so good. If you start, you know, so you put a semi, yeah. Now, yet, so there's a clear message. So, you know, just said, you put a semi. President is like, they said, you, and what, but you are taking the only one second, and what, but you are taking the only one second. There's a people that say,
Babia, what's it? Overton, that's Overton, Babia, and then a chair, the Dutch will be. Oh, tell us how and then what is it coming out? We have something. We have something. Woman, I have here. Run was a gas and shot. And the American church said, you follow a country, a country. On Saturday, we have one can. So God say now on fire. Now on fire, Kase3 6Pm. So God say now we are going to say Saturday. Let's run us and can. What you can. You are outside what you can. Say so not what you can. I'm not what you can. On fire. Yeah, join the running man. And you are decided when you want one, you will soon Kase3 6Pm. You said and yet, I was saying, if you say, no man can say, oh, so we are yelling. The bedroom, go by us, not as a camel, yalla, I will need a material, I don't need a can say, a camel, tell me, say, and yet.
So for Penina Order Open Arms Ministry Apostle Kofi and Kansas Koda Bottom Raneses in Sakino and an on central for Kitchen Komofa Galam say any corruption home Kumasi.
Yet Wakasian eso. Ye call one would dear and more a maimu eha eso. One so adding send be out to your S1 friend a buying say a buying M1 no one for Sikka and shame and as a man crank can say investors and for Sikka and share one queer yon emu aduane ye na afa wode nnuane no bi etese vitamins and minerals ebeka ho bie na Ghana fo anatimamofo beto ye mo no ase emo na ye kra afri amahodo so eba no wose mo na ye kra afri amahodo so ba no ye tutu se eye perfume rice na so no ente sao wose sitaache nkoa na ye mumma ahoden bia anim na emo no sa ban ne de sika ehyemu a wodwumadi animu a ebeboa ama timi aduamo ne bebre na emo no obedua no so no wotimi di nnuane no ahodo aka ho a ye di a be ma yapomuden ye beti ye maame ne anua maanom kodwa so kotobia obetimi di bi aya anwamo ano adolofo emutuo ene ne ekeka ho ebe ye hwehwehwem kama afenso udi so a ebe ma wa hoden okoso akan say yekoso adua ya mo no anasa aban edi sika hyemu a meaye bi etese edweso ampaba me koforidua ni koforidua wodua emu bi ewo ho samu ya yedua ye betimi kwa so etimi dia som secondary school ahodo a ewo oman mu enti wo stress aban no emfa sika enhyem sane ebeya ye bedua mu bebere na afe no ya mo no a yedua no oman mu no yenya ye see eat what you grow yenya ye besa edie na afe so ebema ya pomuden opani a wo de sasem etudwa eye Franco Obuo ono enoda Franco Food Processing and Farm ono no oda no ono de sansemi etudwa yenko tie.
Our local farmers in the rice business are dying. This area here, a Jusu area, you go to Ampabami, this Ampabami, Etia, Kufurudia, New Kufurudia, the amount of rice that they are producing here can feed even all the secondary schools around here. But because of the competition from the foreign rice, there's this glut that I will take you around. You see the amount of rice here. You see, when I started here, I went to some of the farmers to give them some loans. 2022, when my district was open, I went to some of the farmers to give them some loans to buy fertilizers and all those things. But I looked now and see that they are not coming anymore for that, because the stock that they have has still not been sold. You understand what I'm saying? So you will see that there's a glut of local rice here, but it's not going because the foreign rice, and unfortunately the kind of foreign rice that they are buying is not the quality ones. I mean, the prices have reduced, it's not quality rice. Our market, our wives and this, and when they go to the market, the rice they want is the white one. Oh, and more the fita and the papa. So what World Food Program has come up is that after you have gone to that stage, they want to add some kernels, fortified kernels, to add what do you call it, vitamin and folic acid, vitamin B12, and all those things to it. So when you feed it to the secondary schools or the JSS, they will be able to get all the nutrients. It's not been easy, but the World Food Program have, and the way I see it, they are determined to make sure that they go ahead and feed our local descent. Now, buffer stock, which supplies the secondary schools and high schools, is buy into it. The idea is that they want us to use local rice instead of imported rice. Not just local rice, but fortified local rice.
Send your walk and was saying. Enya mu bia kekeo na emom emo a yedua na yemam a ahodi no ewom se na ebe ya de be ma eskuufo ana asuafo adi a ebe mo ahoden sansem no na Franco Obo ode atiudwa
Yato anyimeno siaka siabone Sonia de ani achiremu Ghana Health Service asoya ya ohwe empom de so Ghana memu aneden atwe krata ni twedi atenten de kokobosem ababonten de abeto Ghana fo anim se yade aye friend no meningitis no kire se mani ni muso papa kire se enkankan wono a omote baabi a kire se omo edikan de krata be ka kirom se yade ni PM wonu kirema yade ensamu nti obi bia wote baabie anase wote baabie nipa don bebre ewo honom na munyina mutibom no yade enya yare achese wanhwe ya ebete atese ewo Ghana memu anti wasere se yenya ahweyi etimamufo no yenya ahweyi wose yare achese yare abrewa ejo chese yare achese yare boni papa yare ide ni din ne honam nse o meningitis we de yawa obejai na wate chese obebre papa wose yare yi ehunsunsanso ni bebre ubonwane se fever ene na uti ebebo wo je ohune okon chese obebi bia ya fa utwa okon antwa se na ofe na se osoro kekan na oda wo na unya ne kura nso a won sori o chese ne ma bebrebe ena ekoso ewo nipede o se yare no ekwan yare no efa so a eti atese ne chese agensam kura enti Ghana fo enhwe ya sechina mu ye pa titiru pa ene ye didie mu yanu mu ade a de koya no ade a de hye yanu bia ye nhwe ni ye se ne ebe ya sa yare yi entimi emani hum no so yanu titiru pa wa kodwom na okoto ade hwe ade na okoto no eyade papa ene eyade achese dani da nyina utobo sese ya hweye we nyina yare no entimi enti atese enti Ghana fo nyina obesere se ahweye pa ene esese ye se ne be ya yare a ye friend meningitis no enti atese ewo mani titru pa ne ba bia timamufo no omomote wo no edoso brofo Kase ye friend congested area ba bi wo no ma wo kwa wonam street mu pa bonso wawura obi adwae ba bi wo we mpuma ni we ejare bo ho babu a we ni we tibom babu on ma da ba ku be se nipa be se du ensia nwotwe enko na omo dam babu on ma container bi na omo dan chese mframa mfem osese anye ahweye e wo sa ne man hu a yade a ye friend meningitis no ebetimi ama edi aye Ghana fo nti ye ho so na ye me ani na ho na se ne be yare yi entimi ente atisi Ghana Health Service on krata odeba ese amamufo no munya ahweye e wo yare a ye friend meningitis ho e na ye de amamo no
ya to Kase no so ya call Concerned Drivers Association of Ghana you try to say sidag no wow e dia tudwa acheche mo amatimamofo ahu de ntia sabre lorry akwanhia adoso a na ya betie ya se kwan we so akwantimpo we so akwanhia si aha akwanhia si ama nipa e hwere won kwan ahodo wo se sansami sa akwanhia agina won a lorry ne eye won dia ye kire ka honest for sika wo twadema adoafo se won fa emre wo mo ebra waye adwuma awie eya na edoso dodo ti do ani nso aya na adwene se opese wo ye bibia se ne be ya obenya sika akoma ne ka wura na afa wonya bi ade ato petrol agu ne ka anim na wasanya bi ade agu ne botom no kofia wotimi de abo na busua akonhoma eno eka hu bi ana ama medika tente medika eni kwan se wo koro no na wodi hu medika ekoro eno ne ma ene wo betie yase ka we akohwim wo ha ka we ni we akohwim lord we ni we akohwim wo ha ama akwanhia asi ama nipa ehwe won kwa sa ensam yi ene nam so ama nkwanhia ahodo adoso enti wode to adrafo anim say ɛsɛ sɛ wɔyɛ ahwɛyie pa ɛsan sɛ wɔn kwasa kora wɔn kwa ɛda isaneɛ mu na apasenyafoɔ nso ɛnkwa ɛda isaneɛ mu sɛ sɛ wɔn wɔn da hɔ na sika ɔbɛsɛ wɔn nya no wɔbɛnya na emu no wɔn to wɔn bo ase wɔn fa ahopeprɛ ɛne mikatuo bɔne ɛnfa ɛntu lorry no enkonya akwanhyia opanipa a woda ekoya no ede Williams osai adodo na bone ma ne se pa wili ono na wona Sikka Kase ekasai yenkotie ne nsem a ode tu dwa no ebi
Can it done? For the can it done? And ya be stay, we are trying from God, Davis near pay, cowness and so pay. Says now on the man so. A bimudia was so. Yes, cow for no one on the was. One to Suka come out. Second, yeah, per se, one would do a shim, track and shim, cowness, and Kukumasi and Matu Tam. So